Okay, and I will share my screen. I'm delighted to show you today the latest of my research. My name is Oliver Kerstenhauer. As I stated before, I work at the Pedagogical University, or University College for Teacher Education is the long name. And my focus is on coding, making, and robotics in the Education Innovation Studio. And today it's all about the textbook. The textbook that is adapted for inverted classroom model. And you may know it with another name. It's called flipped classroom or flip the classroom. And I will show you what I did in this research, and I'm happy to present this topic. It is all about computational thinking with the BBC microbit. So it's about coding, and it's about the physical device, the microbit, to get your hands on and experience what coding and algorithms mean. You do this by using a visual programming language that's called MakeCode. And there is a textbook with several examples, because we have one big problem. Computational thinking is introduced into the curriculums for secondary, lower secondary, but there are no vast opportunity for teaching material. So the book that you see was one of the first books that are approved for computational thinking. One of the examples there is a reaction time meter. And you can see the hyperlink if you're interested. It's in German, but you can easily translate it with Google or Bing or whatever translator you want to use. So it's very simple. The students or the children have a familiar starting point. They are using a console and they are measuring their reaction time. So you can do this as a making activity, and that's the point of my study. Every activity in the book that has an extension, so at the end of the example, I call this extension. There are some examples in which you can further deepening what you have learned during the task. And one of the examples is the reaction time meter, to go into a makerspace, use aluminum pads and crocodile cables and connect it to the microbit. You see the microbit a little bit up there, and it's connected there. So this is used for deepening the understanding, deepening the learned. And now I will show you what I did with this, with the one example task. Background is the flipped classroom. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the flipped classroom or inverted classroom. If you have questions afterwards, very welcome. Computational thinking started with with Janet Wing. She had an article in the ACM journal, in which she stated computational thinking is for everyone. Every young person should be able to use computational thinking. It does not have to do anything with the computer, but with the concepts in mind when you are programming. But originally, this dates back to Seymour Papert with Mindstorms and the Logo Turtle. Then I used as theoretical background the inquiry-based learning, the 5E learning cycles from bscs.org. Student-centered self-driven learning pathways. We have tutorials with spoiler links, and the information is only uncovered if the step in detail is not clear. Otherwise, it's just the headline, and the student can move on to the next step. And as you saw with the aluminum pads, there's a makerspace, collaborative, playful way of learning by doing, which then goes back to Papert's constructionism. So this is the glue in the theoretical background. The teacher role is totally shifting in a makerspace activity. The teacher is not the one who gives the solution. He's more a solution co-designer, a coach who helps to get this one solution ready to work. For the study, which is part of a larger research about computational thinking with the microbit, I did the didactic redesign of the textbook examples. There are some quality criteria for teacher training and professional development. If you know MAS, there is a high quality STEM PD network. They have ready to use guidelines in what to apply and how to construct teacher training for STEM. And I have the 3-2-1 model for didactic elements for learning offers from Caris, which basically gives you this overview. There are 3 things that are mandatory for designing such a learning offer. So this is basically learning information, which gives orientation. So this is, in German, we say the W questions: what, when, how long, etc. The learning material itself that stimulates, and at the end, the learning tasks, which should activate the learner. This is accompanied by 2 not mandatory elements, but they give support. So this is some kind of scaffolding we could translate. And at the end, there is 1 facultative element, which would be assessments, but can also be formative assessments. So for motivation and also for orientation, did I check the real or the interesting points? I redesigned the material, which is only for class. So in the workshop, there was the new redesigned task. 15 teachers that are familiar with the microbit and the textbook already participated, and they created lesson plans on how to translate this to their environment. At the end, we had focus group interviews. What they thought at the end of the workshop in implementing would be interesting or would be, from their point of view, necessary to do. 5 out of these 15 teachers, this is also because of the pandemic situations, it is a larger research and I'm in the first cycle of the research, and 5 out of the 15 teachers implemented their own planning and provided feedback with semi-structured guideline interviews for also quality assurance and validity. What did they say? No, what did I do? Sorry, that was the next one. The adaptation of the material is just spot the point where is the making activity. If there is not a making activity in the task, you should create one yourself. The coding, the tasks that are necessary for programming can be done on the PC or tablet, but without the microbit, this is ideal for video instructions in the flipped classroom environment because it's only in the browser. And then, of course, you have to provide instructions, and the instructions should also use maybe a tutorial for how to implement this without a teacher. So you have to keep in mind when the students are using the material, there is no teacher. So the complexity should be reduced. What is not necessary in complexity should move to the hands-on part in class. And maybe the functionality, if you don't have aluminum pads, of course, and you want to use it only in the browser. But be aware not to use just the video. The video should be interrupted to put the learner in an active role. So when watching, maybe you can use something like I did, H5P, that the video stops and there are some check questions if the last minute was understood and the interesting and necessary points can proceed from the student point of view.
1 minute left.
Thank you. For the design-based research approach, the first cycle of theory, development, and implementation was done, and subject matter experts' feedback was collected, and it will be done on a larger scale. I see this more as the design-based research also in comparison to the PDCA cycle. It's a continuous plan, do, check, act, a continuous improvement process. So what is the point? I have more things to say, but the material is well suited. The partitioning, what is for in-class and out-class, is well explained and ready for implementation. It stimulates independent and procedural thinking and previous hands-on, so you should not provide a jump start with this task, so you have to have previous experience with the microbit. And only some 3 out of the 5 teachers reported for more intermediate, for more higher difficult levels, you should go to higher grades, that is 7th and 8th grade. Self-driven and student-centered learning focus is forced, but I will switch to an example. At the end, what happens with flipped classroom may happen also to you when you do that. And students think they don't need to watch the homework. So normally you have the pre-class flip. The theory is done at home before the class. And in the class, you do the working example and extend with the making. And my suggestion for this is also, if the student skips the pre-class work, he starts in class. And he cannot go to the second program because the first program was not done. So you let him watch the video. Maybe you put him in a separate classroom or a separate physical location, and he starts later. But you should give him the second program as a homework and make him not complete it in the in-class work. So at the end, the student who did not prepare has an extra teacher appointment where he needs to show how the step 3 and 2, the 2 programs can be merged and completed. So I hope that I can do this on a larger scale, as stated before, and I'm happy to answer questions now.
Thanks very much, Oliver. Really interesting stuff on the prepared evaluation, motivation space. Really cool. Just time for a couple of quick questions. Anybody?
I want just to ask about the book. Did you write it, or did you make it as part of your research design?
I participated in the book, and I designed 3 examples, but not the one that's listed here. Mm-hmm. So I did choose an example that was not mine, just to be sure to make it usable for the others.
Yeah, because I navigated it and it's really interesting, and all the examples in it. So
we are planning a second version. The microbit has a second version, and we need to update the pictures. Yeah, there's more to come. If you like it, just check back.
Best of luck.
Any more? We just got time for another question. Oh, Shireen, could you just introduce yourself, by the way? You're supposed to say who you are.
I do have question.
Yeah, sure, go ahead. Could you introduce yourself as well, Tom?
Sorry. My name is Valentina Pikalo. I'm from Ukraine.
Excellent.
I'm also a teacher in high school and at university, computer science teacher. I'm really interested any other technologies, not microbits, something else. Do you use in your classroom?
Yes, not in this study, obviously, but I'm using other. The next step of just programming is constructing little robots. So I use, beside the microbit, the MBot. So that's make block. And I use the Lego Mindstorms EV3. And what else? For lower grades, we use the Ozobots and the Bbots.
Cool.
So my colleague Karin is here, and she's more for the lower grades than me.
I see.
And we overlap in the middle of 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You're lucky you have a lot of devices and robots to deal with.
Sometimes.
Sometimes? Okay.
Great. Okay, time's getting on, Oliver. If you can handle the timing.
Yes.
And be tougher than me, because.
Okay.
Right. Okay. The next one is Suzanne Thrainer. Are you here, Suzanne?
Yes, I am here.
Could you introduce yourself, Suzanne? And over to you.
Yeah, I will introduce myself in my presentation anyway.
Cool. Go ahead.
So, good. So, hello and welcome to my presentation. It is about the implementation of GeoGebra in mathematics classes in Austrian high schools. I should be a bit more precise because my topic will be the introduction of the compulsory use of technologies such like GeoGebra in the standardized written central school leaving exam in mathematics in Austrian high schools. But okay, I have to be honest, this title does not sound so good. It is a bit too complex, and I will come back to it at a later point of my presentation. But now, as I said, I will first introduce myself. My name is Susanne Thrainer, and I am from Upper Austria. Currently, I am a PhD student in my second semester at the Johannes Kepler University in Linz. Before starting my PhD, I was studying mathematics and chemistry as a teacher. And when I did my school leaving exam in 2015, this has been the first year of the central school leaving exam in Austria. And it has even been the first in which it has been allowed to use GeoGebra in the final exam. And for me personally, the implementation of technologies such as GeoGebra has been a help. I'm not only using it during the exam, but either at school in general. And I still enter a lot of things in it, even if it is just to visualize my thoughts. Therefore, I'm either really happy that I had a teacher who was really acquainted with the use of technologies, and he taught us a lot about it. But not all students do have a teacher who knows so much about the use of GeoGebra, and they cannot help the students so much if problems arise. And this leads me to my first research questions. So do teachers need to be supported in the use of GeoGebra so that they can help students to get the most of it in mathematics classes, and especially in the standardized written central school leaving exam in mathematics in Austrian high schools? Okay, it is again a bit complex, and I will explain more what I mean. So the part which I think is most important is help the students, because as a researcher and especially as a teacher trainer and as a teacher, you should help the students because they are the ones who have to pass the class and later the school leaving exam. And these exams should not be an obstacle, but they have to pass it to be able to study. But me personally, I'm not able to help all these students, so I have to support the teachers so that they know more about GeoGebra and then can support the students. And in Austria, in the end of the high school, there is this standardized written central school leaving exam in mathematics. And exactly here I will have my main focus. Since the school year of 2017-2018, it is mandatory to use higher technologies such like GeoGebra in the final exam in an Austrian high school. And due to that, more teachers are using GeoGebra in their everyday mathematics classes. And the wording mandatory use raises the question if teachers would use GeoGebra or other technologies in their classes if they do not have to. And there will occur several problems when teachers are implementing GeoGebra in their classes if they did not do before or if they have not been able to learn it at the university. To find an answer to this question, I'm going to make interviews with teachers, and I will concentrate either on the question, what changes in their mathematics classes when teachers start using GeoGebra? And to structure the analysis of the interviews, I will use the framework Structuring Features of Classroom Practice, in which are 5 key structuring features. I will shortly introduce them. So first, it is the working environment, which concentrates on the change of room location and physical layouts due to the use of computer-based tools. Because in many schools, you have to relocate your lesson to computer laboratory if you want to implement the use of technologies. The second category is the resource system. In exercises from textbooks, mostly calculators are used to solve them, and so it can be quite difficult to combine the textbooks and the computer microworld and other digital tools in mathematics classes. Either the activity format changes, because technology-rich lessons mostly have a different activity format because more open tasks are used. And so the focus changes from the teacher to the pupils, and the teacher has to give away the control over the whole class. The curriculum script. Especially at the beginning of the implementation of computer use in schools, very little could be found about it on the internet because relevant goals and actions might change. And you cannot, or just in a small part, take materials from your own experience from teaching as you did in the last years. And last but not least, the time economy plays an important role. At the beginning, more detailed preparation is needed, and lessons might seem to be less efficient and flexible. So what are the changes that occur in the mathematics classes when teachers start using GeoGebra? Before starting with my interviews, I'm going to find questions to all of the mentioned features of my framework, so I can in the end find an answer to this overall question. In my PhD, I will bring together all these aspects. On the one hand, there will be the support of the teachers who need to be supported, especially when the implementation is mandatory and it is for the first time for teachers to implement it in their mathematics classes. And on the other hand, there is the change that occurs to the whole teaching when technology is used in the lessons. Now I want to go back to the question I raised in the beginning of my presentation. But I think now you might be able to understand the sentence better. But of course, it is still quite long, and I will try it once more to keep it a bit shorter. So I will remove several words that are not so important, but that just describe the sentence. So my topic of my PhD will be the compulsory use of technologies in Austrian high schools. I'm sorry that my presentation might be a bit confusing, but these are my thoughts, and I hope that I was able to introduce you a bit, and I hope you could follow my thoughts, and thank you for your attention.
Well done, Suzanne. That was excellent. I think the whole aspect of compulsory use, making it easier to use GeoGebra, especially the benefits, the time economy, the pragmatics of real life is fascinating. Well done. Are there any questions? How far into your doctorate are you, Suzanne?
I'm in my second semester and I'm not really far now. So I'm at the
That's
very
great.
beginning.
That's great. And you're enjoying it?
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. That shows, that shows. Okay, last chance for any questions.
Oliver, I was just curious, Susanne, if you have comparison of other tools than GeoGebra?
No, I will not really compare it. So, because in Austria, so most schools use GeoGebra and I will just focus on it.
Okay, cool. Well, that brings us nicely to, wow, we're back on time, I think. Well done. Okay, Bogdan, your go. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. Great to see you. Thank you. Thanks to the previous speakers for your valuable contributions. And I first want to actually hand the word over to Frau Ulrike Schmidt-Zachel, my headmistress from the School of Rose Steyr, who will give a short introduction to our concept and what we're doing for this purpose. I will share also the screen. Yeah. Here we are. Can you see that all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
So,
So,
thanks, Bogdan. My name is Uli Schmidt-Zachel, and I'm, as Bogdan already said, the headmistress of a school in Upper Austria. And I want to introduce you our school, our ideas for our school, because we are going into the transformation. We are already in. So our school exists since 2014. It's a very young school, and I'm dare to say we are good in personality development. We've got lots of visual arts and performing arts, and we're using progressive teaching methods. Yes, and now we are going into a transformation as we want to open our curriculum for the world of STEAM. And why do we want to do this? As we are part of, or want to be part of, the transformation which is going on in the world. We want to go into, could you go on, Bogdan, please? Thanks so much. We want to take this motto from Steve Jobs, as we read the Vienna Manifesto on digital humanism, and it's kind of interesting that we find it a lot in the world now, that digitalization should be more human, humanity. There should be more humanity in digitalization, and that's what we want to be part of. Could you go on, Bogdan, please? Thanks so much. So I'm already in your part, I think. Could I hand you over?
yeah, okay.
So much.
Thank you, Ulrike. And yeah, so basically our shift is from our current focus is basically the arts and personality development, and we'll venture into this area of digitalization technology, and arts is our main focus, to make young people fit in a sense for being agents for positive transformation in that world. How will we do this? So we are moving from Steyr, that's a small town in Upper Austria, to Linz, which is the capital, and there into the Tabakfabrik, which is kind of a quite interesting innovation hub, a former tobacco factory, and with a lot of startups located there. And we are cooperating with Jabadoo, which is an online kind of content management tool, with the Grand Garage, which is a makerspace there in the Tabakfabrik, with the Ars Electronica Center, where we'll hear more about, and with the School of Creative Solutions of the Pädagogische Hochschule in Upper Austria as well as the Art University in Linz, the STEAM Education Research Center at JKU. That's the reason why we are here today. So, and the Pädagogische Hochschule Oberösterreich was already mentioned. That's a short peek into our timetable, how it will look like. So we'll cover and we'll merge in we'll merge. We do a lot of cross-subject learning and linking and project-based learning. So we'll combine in informatics, bildnerisches Gestalten, which is basically design, which is basically the design classes, as well as arts classes, with the sciences, and based on all these methods, especially from the School of Creative Solutions and flipped classroom, project-based learning, all these things, especially here we have an outline, basically how much of our time in the years from year 9 to 12 will go into that area. So we'll have about 7 hours a week dedicated to these processes. This is independent now even of the science subjects, and the science teaching will link into that. So the main emphasis will be the interplay of the natural sciences, technical and artistic subjects. And to really give the students over their basically time in school memories and a foundation that they can build on in their future learning or working careers and developments. So, and basically the center part of this basically web of subjects that will be focused, we create in this STEAM area will be the subject was called technological design. And the idea is, of course, for pupils to expand, deepen their digital, technical, natural, scientific and creative education. So we're looking into 4 areas of competency that we want to strengthen in our students, which is basically problem solving, so techno-creative competencies, which is area we heard about GeoGebra. I myself teach, of course, with GeoGebra, and I had also the blessing to be taught already GeoGebra by a very forward-thinking maths teacher myself. And so we'll use this in combination with also the Garage Makerspace, the design area, to strengthen techno and creative skills. And as well as the coding area, we'll use the Unity platform, as well as project management tools. So we have kids in an age where it is actually, we want to co-design these processes in the spirit of design thinking with our students together. And the idea is basically from finding solutions to simple problems like designing a bottle opener or something like that, moving on towards like challenging or discovering ways to improve the recycling system in your school. These are just examples, because of course we want to co-design the actual projects that are in the heart and in the minds of the students, up to even bigger issues as tackling food waste or issues in that area, but approach this not just from basically a social or societal angle, but from this technological design angle. So do we need to design different bins to improve the recycling behavior in our school and so on? So from this sort of perspective, we will teach, discover, and learn together with our students and implement this in the very spirit of STEAM. So so this links with the 4th area of competencies that we want to include. This is this kind of global competences, and especially as Ulrike mentioned in the beginning, the human, making the processes of digitalization human based on a foundation of solid skills. Thank you. This is our, here you can find us, rosenfabrik.at. This is our webpage for the new launch of this transformation and development of our school in Linz. And thank you very much for your attention.
Well, Bogdan and Ulrike, I thought that was wonderful. I love it, and good luck. I've got loads of questions, but I've got to pass it to other people. Who's got a question? Anybody? Great, because I've got one. Bogdan and Ulrike, the big thing is, I love the way, you know, in contrast to a lot of stuff, it's sort of STEAM, sort of maths, extend it out a little bit to include something else. But your focus, right from the other end of the scale, sort of arts and personal development, is really cool. And I think you really both sell the idea great. So how did you overcome, or how are you overcoming the kind of traditional problems, especially in Austria, that I've come across, where there's a real focus on a narrow curriculum and assessment and time, you know, the time value for teachers, that they've already got the day job trying to meet the curricular requirement, you know, so, you know, they're not able to think about integration, let alone all the art stuff that you're talking about. How have you sort of overcome that?
Ulrike, would you like to respond to that, or?
Yeah, the only thing I can say is everything is possible within the curriculum you have got from the Bundesministerium. There's a lot of space left for being free and fulfill the curriculum. It's just going for it and doing it. So, yeah.
So I think the curriculum is actually not the issue. It's actually rather the team. We have the blessing that we are sort of a private school, so we can select or handpick, in a sense, the teachers and the team that is working there together, and it includes a lot of extra work, extra effort, of course. But I think for a lot of innovation in schools, it's actually not the curriculum that is the issue, or also not the final test. I forgot the translation that Susanne Treiner used for Matura, but it's actually the structures that grew in school, and we had the chance, because we're a new school, we can start anew somehow, and I think that's key for us.
Well, that's absolutely great, absolutely great. In other words, you just go for it is the answer to the question, so that's cool.
That's right, yeah.
Marvelous. Wow, it's my turn next. Wow,
Tony, I think there are two more questions or comments.
Oh, really? Where can I see these questions then?
The raise hand. I think Doris wants to say something.
Okay, cool. Go ahead, Doris.
Yeah, hi.
Could you introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, my name is Doris, and I work at the Austrian Ministry of Education, especially in STEM-related fields and different projects. And I was very thrilled when I first heard that there is a new gymnasium or AHS that includes a STEM perspective, because as you might not be aware if you're not from Austria, it's a very traditional setup for you know, upper education or gymnasiums in Austria. There is the technical branch or the natural science branch, and then there is the language branch, and your branch would broach both of these approaches, and I'm very thrilled that there is opening up this room right now. And as you already said that you're kind of forming a new school, you're moving to a new location, I just wanted to ask you, because, you know, it's always good to have, you know, some sensors out there in the field. When you're working on your new team and you want to, you know, your profile and your competencies, is there, or what can you think of in terms of what would be a very nice support structure in terms of, you know, further learning for your teams? Yeah, is there anything that you can come up with? Like, what is it that you would say, okay, further education, this is what we need right now? anything that springs to your mind.
Awesome to have the ministry asking such questions. That's really great. But I guess we would need to think a bit more about it, at least from my perspective. Ulrike, you have
I
something?
think so too. We are very thankful for the question. We are looking forward to Helping Hands as we're going for it, and we already have Helping Hands as the PH Oberösterreich with the School for Creative Solutions, which is great for us because our Navi teachers are joining that now, or already did. And so there are, it's so great that many people want to support us. And so perhaps we could just think about it and talk about it again. But because I just can't say anything.
I think this facilitation of this cooperation between schools that trod new paths somehow and the research institutions like PH and JKU, facilitation, also resources for that in a sense. I think this is probably it would be biggest help.
So
Okay, great,
right.
thanks.
maybe I have a comment too. So it's really fascinating to see what is happening. And we already had some discussions. So it feels more like Finland, my experiences, that we work with lots of schools in Finland, and this kind of openness of using the resources. I think it's very similar. So we look forward to working with you. And then also, I think we might need to talk, because I think then there will be a STEAM education lab in Venice, and I might be able to get some scholarships for your students and some of the teachers there. So I'm in the negotiations, so maybe this kind of European STEAM initiative is already on the way. So very nice, congratulations.
Thanks.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
That was terrific. Okay, my go. So let's see, how do I do this? Oh, share screen.
This looks promising.
I can't see anybody, unfortunately. Hello?
The share screen is not on right now.
Is the share screen on now?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Now it's coming.
It's coming, yes.
There.
Oh, thanks.
All working.
Phew. Right, okay. Friends, I'm working on a project with Zolt's team called STEAM Teach, with Imam and Zolt, who are obviously here today. We're just at the start of the program, and it's nearly kind of 3 years to go. We're working with a project, 5 partners in Spain, Finland, Greece, Hungary, and Austria. And as Zolt mentioned before, the opportunity to collaborate with our friends in Finland, Greece, where there's an emerging requirement for STEAM in the curriculum, really makes it a nice balance of people to work with. STEAM Teach came about because we did a terrific project called KICS, Kids Inspiring Kids for STEAM, where we really got some kind of transformational results, where we got kids who are keen on STEAM coming up with projects for other kids who are less, less interested in it. we got some great results, but we realized that without teachers, it doesn't work. It was the keenness of the teachers to support the kids that counted. So therefore, we looked for this project called STEAM Teach, where instead it's the kids. We looked at really trying to focus on teachers and the training of the teachers. So the project and the main objectives is the exchange of best STEAM practices, but also to design a transcultural professional development framework, which takes into account, you know, different cultural barriers, including restrictions in, for example, assessment and the curriculum, or variants from our 5 countries, and to use that framework for developing a teacher's training course program in STEAM. So the interest of JKU in this is that we have, and me as a visiting professor in JKU, is that we've got a fabulous resource, especially the top one there of those 35 local and visiting students. And one of the almost unique things for me is that these students have a kind of professional, pragmatic delivery confidence and ability allied to strong academic ability and a whole list of areas. And so I think this is a real kind of powerhouse that we can use to develop STEAM practice and material, which again can be used across cultures. And just a second, what's going on? Yeah, and of course we can then use that to reach out from Austria and Linz to a global community, because again in Linz we've got, you know, sometimes you get used to it, but when you think about it, 100+ million users in the GeoGebra community. That's pretty amazing when you think about it. Anyway, the project phases, and this is why these sessions today have been of real particular interest to me, is that we started by taking an Austrian view in the project of look at the state of the art of teacher training and issues and opportunities and concerns related to teaching STEAM by talking to 5 expert teacher trainers to just get a consolidated view. The idea is then to put that in a cross-cultural program for which we're inviting any collaboration. And then autumn, winter, testing the program, going further to refining the program and implementation, through to then evaluation and so on. Again, which is really why I asked the question to Bogdan and Ulrike, is that this kind of Euro challenge is that teachers need to be willing to invest time and effort. They're usually concerned about finishing the traditional curriculum, and it really requires cooperation between teachers when they may not have the time. And that's the kind of thing that we looked at. And so we worked with 5 really expert teacher trainers in Austria, looking at what methodology are you applying, what subjects do you integrate, what are the greatest challenges. And this again is why the result so far is why I found, you know, the talks this morning so fascinating, because here's what we found. First of all, teachers, from a teacher trainer's point of view, felt that teachers were often working in silos on their own. And so what was needed was a multidisciplinary, supportive, collaborative groups and networks addressing perception so that teachers actually perceive that doing STEAM gives them a net benefit. Also that they have a confidence and support network and interdisciplinarity to, you know, really move forward on a STEAM basis. So the kind of things that Bogdan and Ulrika were talking about, you know, just fit perfectly into this scenario. And those kinds of things that you're doing, you know, really are the kind of things that one will wish to kind of spread out to have available in some way in a network for teachers. The teacher trainers advocated problem and project-based scaffolded learning. And again, your problem-based talk was interesting, with a mix, and this is interesting, of physical and online working. Again, some of our teacher trainers worked a lot online, and we found there were lessons from the COVID experience. And then also the affective factor, relating back to the first talk, the papert stuff, really learning that relates to the learner's interests, attitudes and motivation. So these were the results from the Austrian perspective. And if you're looking at things like that, that questions like, to what extent as a teacher do you feel that an integrated STEAM approach is of benefit to you, become crucial. To what extent do you feel confident with STEAM activities? To teachers who in schools are often on their own. And so, and this is the key, we've just kind of illustrated the Austrian perspective, but it's in some ways premature, where we came up with a kind of example agenda where we're really focusing on problems and issues with a STEAM approach, how we then get STEAM collaborative teacher groups working together and then coming up with solutions, but above all, giving teachers the confidence. And of course, again, the JKU STEAM expertise and GeoGebra community expertise can really flip in to those activities that we're looking to do. But this is premature. It's really kind of up for grabs, really, because as I said, that's where we are at the moment. We're moving towards that program design, and any contribution and collaboration would be wonderful to do that. And then as we go through into the program. So that's why I've enjoyed the talks so far, because they are of direct interest to what we're trying to do. Thanks very much. Stop the share. Are there any questions? I stunned people into silence, I can see.
You managed the timing without my help.
How long did it take then? 10 minutes? Wow.
I have a
Can you
question.
tell more about?
Oh, sorry. Go.
Yeah.
Valentina.
Yes,
Sure.
that's sorry. Valentina from Ukraine, computer science teacher, high school and middle school. I'm interested in your speaking about collaboration and intercultural research between different countries. Can you name which countries are already participate in?
Yeah. Spain.
Spain.
Hungary. Hold on. Spain. Hungary.
Hungary.
Finland.
Mm-hmm.
Greece.
Mm.
And Austria.
Okay.
And Greece is very interesting because I don't know why, but a bit like Finland, Greece is moving forward very rapidly in STEAM as a formal explicit requirement in the curriculum. And that's really interesting because Bogdan and Ulrika's comment and my summary of just go for it, I agree that 100%. In the UK curriculum, STEAM doesn't feature explicitly, you know, sort of, in the English natural curriculum. However, I took a flight project that we worked on and then mapped it. And guess what? It could be mapped into the curriculum. So I agree totally, you know, with the previous presentation. However, you've got to take the time to do that. But what is interesting is in our different countries, we've got a variety, you know, of where it is explicitly put in the curriculum and it isn't. So that really gives a cool variety. But we are just at the first stage yet. Each of the other countries are coming up with their own requirement.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we're going to, you know, compare them and then come up with that superset of requirements to meet the multicultural requirement.
I see. You're only dealing with school curriculum. You're not dealing with teacher trainings.
Oh, I do apologize. Yeah, we're working with teacher trainers teacher trainers to devise training programs for in-service and, you know, student teachers. Yeah, and then that we're looking with people to devise programs for teachers, and then we want to see what happens in the schools. So how do we take into schools, and also that teaching network which we want to create for that multidisciplinarity and the support.
Probably my question was because in Ukraine fit into curriculum, it pronounced, but I do not really see how it's better to fit this combination of different subjects at the lesson particular. Our ministry pronounce that it's great and you have to, but how it works, it's not clear. But to fit in curriculum for pre-service teachers, it's easier if you have teachers who are willing, or lecturers who are willing to do it. So how about your experience in other countries? Is it easier on the stage of teacher training or in schools?
Oh, I see. Yeah, no, we're too early to say on that. We've just started on the Austrian requirement to, you know, to focus on that.
I see. Thank you very much. It's very important research that you started.
Oh, thank you.
Really great.
Oh, great, great, cool.
Hope you and would be really interesting. What are the requirements to be a part of such interdisciplinary research or intercultural?
Sure.
Between countries. Okay, sorry, lost for words. Okay, so good luck, and
how kind.
It would be really nice to see the result or in progress.
Yeah, well, what I'll do is I'll put on the details of what we're doing, and also we've got 2 or 3 groups, you know, on GeoGebra, also in adults, you know, the PhD stuff and all this kind. So after all this conference, I'll put some more stuff on.
Great. Cool. Thank you very much for your presentation.
My pleasure.
And your work.
Okay.
I think Shireen has a quick question. Otherwise, we should proceed.
Yes, I do, but if the time is up, that's fine. You can move on because of the schedule.
Okay, Shireen, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tanya.
And the next one is Konrad Kreiner. Please introduce yourself and the stage is yours.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Konrad.
I'm Konrad. I work as professor at the University of Klagenfurt, and which is in the south of Austria, very close to Italy and Slovenia. First of all, I would like to highlight that I like the presentations very much, so congratulations to the colleagues who reported before. My task is to tell you a little bit about the impact and the findings of an Austrian initiative called INS. And I have 5 short parts. The first deals with the question, why had INS been initiated? Then I will talk some words about major goals and strategies, selected findings and selected impacts, and then I look a little bit into the future. Why had IMS been initiated? Now, you know that in 1995 there had been the TIMS study, and Austria had disappointing results in the upper secondary, and therefore the ministry was interested to set a reaction to this situation, and they commissioned a research project investigating the situation of Austria compared to other countries, why other countries are better than Austria to some extent, and so on. And I cannot share with you all the results, but only to tell you some assets of it, that Austria's students were good in routine tasks, but not good in higher level tasks. And looking at the questionnaire for students, Austria was last but not least regard the item, how often do teachers promote or invite students to have reasoning tasks. And here Austria was very bad, and also the subject didactics at that time was really underdeveloped. So there was a big issue to find a reaction to these results, and the project was called IMS, which is unusual for Austria because it's innovations in mathematics and science teaching is not a German name and an English one, but the abbreviation is a town in Austria. IMS is in Tyrol, and the meaning of that was to, on the one hand, to show that we need to an international look what other countries do. On the other hand, you can only build on your own strengths. So this is the Austrian part of the name. And we got the invitation to start the project in the year 2000 with the goal of supporting innovations at schools at the one hand, and at the other hand, to propose a sustainable plan for a STEM support system. Now, what are the major goals of IMS? The goal was to promote a culture of innovation at schools, but also at the teacher education institutions. And we understand innovations as continuous processes of natural, self-critical, systematic further development of practice. And teachers are the key for our considerations. We regard them as inquiry-based learners in the sense that we also teach students regard as inquiry-based learners. So, the teacher educators are also the researchers of the programs, and also they investigate their own actions in the process, working with teachers. So they are also inquiry-based learners. It's a system of learners, so to speak. And also building up collaboration networks between teachers, researchers, and policy. The major intervention strategy could be named reflection and networking, in the sense that we have in classrooms a lot of actions by students, routine work and so on, but not so much reflection on what they are doing. And the same at the teaching level, we realized in our analysis. And there is a lot of autonomous, self-determined work by teachers, but there is not so much collaboration. So the same in classroom regarding students. So we fostered reflection and networking, so jointly thinking what's going on, how to improve teaching. We try to improve, establish structures and everything in collaboration with the Ministry of Education and other partners in all Austria. We help to establish centers, research center, universities, centers for didactics. We suggested to build up a middle management at schools, So if you have a mathematics department, there is a key mathematics teacher supporting innovations at the schools, networks, regional networks, and the support system for schools, creating a fund and things like that. I will not speak a lot about the scientific background, but action research has to be mentioned, constructivism, system theory, and diverse other theoretical approaches like the diffusion of innovation approach by Rogers or the self-determination theory in some research and network theory. So here are some selected findings. I confine myself to two findings. One refers to motivation of students and teachers. So students, teachers working within the context of IMST were especially attracted. We attracted highly motivated teachers. And here is the result of a study with more than 4,000 students and their teachers. We asked the teachers what they, how do they feel they get support from other colleagues or from the principal, or do they feel to some extent under pressure? And the same questions we asked to the students. Do you feel support by the teacher? Do you feel some pressure, and so on? And as a tendency, we found out that teachers, it's those teachers who or those students who got motivation from students are those who got support also from their principals and their colleagues. So we could say the teachers pass the motivation to students. If they get support, they give support, and so on. And this, of course, shows that it's very important that teachers get support from other teachers and from the principal to do innovations. Another one was research about scaling up innovations, which is a research topic all over the world, increasing now, because it's nice to have one teacher or maybe two teachers doing some changes in their teaching, doing innovations, but to get a critical mass at the school, this is a big challenge. So we investigated teachers carrying out IMSS projects, and if they did it as a first project or a follow-up project. And the effect was that teachers carrying out follow-up projects, they showed higher levels of dissemination. So it was more likely that they brought the innovation beyond their own classroom to other teachers and even beyond their own school. So, and this shows that there is importance of continuous support and not only to offer very short-term professional development. Other findings, I confine myself to some doctoral dissertations, one from a researcher who investigated factors who foster sustainable professional development. So what are these factors? Another experienced teacher got interest in research and looked at the question, why do teachers write reflective papers? In the context of IMSS, teachers have to write innovation reports, and this is sometimes very challenging for teachers to write down things which are interesting for other teachers, and it's not so easy to write this in this way. So she investigated that. And another example comes from Linz now, where a novice teacher, young teacher, did do projects in the IMSS context. Was a very nice study. She was invited to give a presentation together with a researcher at the conference. And then she got interested in research, and now she is finishing a PhD at the University of Linz on flipped classroom.
One minute.
1 minute. So there are some selected impacts you can read about. Maybe I confine to the IMSS Wiki, which is an internet platform where more than 2,000 examples of good practice written mostly by teachers are shown, and you can look for keywords. And there is a lot of newspapers, newsletters produce special issues one on distance learning in times of pandemic and so on, from in collaboration with the Pedagogical High School of Linz. Many papers, international. We created, helped to establish 6 Austrian educational competence centers and regional centers. And the last, and I could also report about the achievements in international studies like PISA and DIMS, which showed a decrease, an increase of achievement in relation to neighboring countries. And the last remark is that the intention is regarding IMSS to have it sustainably established by the next year. And but there are ongoing negotiations. It's a challenging and dragging process, but there is expectations by practice to get support from the project, continuous interest, and we hope that the intentions are meeting. So many thanks again, and I'm looking forward to get your questions.
Thanks a lot, Conrad. Do you want to stop sharing the screen? That's great. Do we have any questions? Well, Conrad,
Attorney, I would have one.
Oh, sure, go ahead. Sorry,
if you notice my hand,
but works, I apologize. Go ahead. Sorry.
Never mind. That's you know, that's why I'm speaking actually. So thank you for your presentation. It's no secret. Austrian Doris, my name is Doris, Austrian Ministry of Education, and I've been working for Conrad or with Conrad for many years, especially also on the IMSS project. We're now in this process of negotiation and the process that drags along, and hope comes to a fruitful end, as you so well noted in your presentation. But my question points towards something else entirely that you also addressed in your talk, and it is quite something that keeps us busy in the ministry as well. It is the question of how to reach more than the highly motivated teachers with diverse programs, projects. And it's quite something, I know we've been discussing this issue also for quite some time, Conrad. It's not the first time that we talk about it. It's an ongoing debate within IMSS. But what would you give us here for starting another discussion about this?
Okay. We had used so far a kind of double strategy, which the one goes in direction to quality. If you want to spread innovations, to disseminate innovations, you need quality. You need teachers, very experienced teachers who are able to report about their innovations. You need experienced researchers who are experienced working in professional development contexts. So this is one precondition, and the next one is coming at scale. So there are several approaches, like using multipliers. Multipliers in some countries, they educate teacher educators, and these teacher educators educate other teacher educators, and in the sense of, if one educated teacher educator works with 20 teachers, and this teacher works with 20, then you get to 400 and so on. And I do not rely so much on this multiplication, because you lose information, you lose motivation by the teachers. So it should be direct work on the one hand. And there I come to networks, where I believe very much in, to have a pool of experts in networks, where teachers can get support, but they can define their own innovation, and they get support by someone who is experienced also to support innovations. So using a double strategy. On the one hand, to go deep in the question the teachers struggle with. On the other hand, you have to have to broaden up through networks and to a support system where teachers can submit ideas. And what we always did is that these ideas not only should also include an evaluation of the plan, and they got support in doing the measures, the evaluation for the teacher. But it must be tailored to the needs to the teachers. We are a little bit skeptical about the idea that there is one great researcher. He has one famous field and works with 20 teachers. But the question is then, who does it scale up? And that's the big challenge for me.
Thank you. I think, Scholt, you want to add something on this.
Yeah, so thank you very much for the great work. So we are using many of your work, and then some of my PhD students are also engaged with your work. And then I think in this kind of multiplier method, we are using it in our project as well. So in the KICS project that Tony mentioned, and we want to use it in the next one. And then I think it would be very good to engage in discussion. So that Tony is leading our STEAM Teach projects, and then we have some other ones, and I think we can learn a lot. Definitely, because so I'm quite new in Austria. I have lots of international experiences, and we can reach lots of people. But I think we organize this day, and then also in the afternoon the discussion, to be able to have this kind of connections within Austria, because I think there are really fascinating activities and work what you are doing, and then many of them the people are doing. But we can coordinate within Austria, and then also diversify from international experiences. And thank you very much for all of these contributions. So we are very happy, and then probably we'll talk with you, with Tony, and with our team as well. So maybe you could visit us and then share much more in detail of the IMST experience as well. So thank you very much.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Conrad. That was great. Any other questions? No. Okay. Anita, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, great, Anita. Would you like to introduce yourself? And it's over to you.
So hello, my name is Anita Klaus-Brandstetter. I'm a professor for mathematics at the Carinthia University of Applied Sciences, and I'm very happy to be here today. So I heard so many interesting thoughts, and as a Conrad is quite close to Villach, maybe we can also collaborate on some point. So I'm going to share my screen now. I hope it works. Today I would like to talk about one of my lectures about engineering mathematics, which I subjected to a digital transformation with somehow innovative YouTube tutorials as one key cornerstone. So let's first talk about the background. The aim of the course, Engineering Mathematics, is the acquisition and consolidation of various interdisciplinary skills to understand further advanced lectures in engineering. So this is a rather long and huge lecture that is attended by students during the first and second semester from several bachelor degree programs, including mechanical engineering, industrial engineering, and systems engineering. So I have a high diversity in my students in terms of what they need in the further course of their study. And we also have a high diversity in their background knowledge, because we have different prior knowledge, different educational biographies, especially at the Carinthia University of Applied Sciences. We have students that start later in their life with studying, where the A-levels were passed several years ago. And I want to enable the correct application and interpretation of mathematical algorithms and to deepen their logical and abstract thinking. So the key qualifications in this course are linear algebra and analytic geometry, differential and integral calculus. We have power and Fourier series. We deal with complex numbers. Differential equations are very important. And also because in systems engineering, we also need different integral transformations, such as the Fourier or the Laplace transformation. But the main intention is to inspire this very heterogeneous student group for mathematics and to support them in acquiring their own personal skills. So when I took over this course a year ago, I was the first woman and still am the only woman at the FH, at the Karlsruhe University of Applied Sciences, teaching mathematics. So a colleague of mine did this until he retired. And when I took over, I wanted to do it entirely new and to transform it. So we developed a holistic concept for a student-centered development of the learning content, for a reflective review of their learning success, and for also securing competences. And this is based, the entire digital transformation is based on more or less 5 different digital and online tools. So we have the lectures in the virtual classroom, Microsoft Teams. We have tutorials that I produce on my own and that I publish on my YouTube channel, which is called Science Barbie. Then we have, we use the learning platform Moodle to get an overview of the learning success. The students get exercises that they have to solve on their own with diverse computer algebra systems. And I generated animations of important theoretical theorems in mathematics that I incorporate into my LaTeX slides. So about the implementation. So the theoretical basics and the main areas of application for engineers and scientists are taught with Microsoft Teams. However, these theoretical inputs are deliberately kept very short to not overstress the students and to optimally use the time of attention that they can bring in and that they can focus on the lecture. So it's mainly maximum 45 to 90 minutes of input every other week. And this is the synchronous teaching. And 2 weeks in between these inputs, we have asynchronous teaching with autonomous practicing. So to support this autonomous practicing, what I did is I embedded animated graphics of more or less all important theoretical basics and theorems and concepts into my LaTeX slides. So the students can download these LaTeX slides and then they can click through these animations step by step. So we have an example here of the idea or the concept of a Riemann integral. And when the students click on, so they see, okay, what happens if dx gets smaller, we see that the area under the curve is getting more and more closer to what we get in the end. And yes, you can here in the end, you see that the result, and this can also be done automatically, but the students can do this at home and to really understand what's going on. So, but the key element is my YouTube channel. So in September last year, 2020, I opened or established a YouTube channel with somehow of a name. It's called Science Barbie Explains Mathematics. So many people ask me, why is it Science Barbie? So I'm a biologist too, and I did my PhD thesis in forensic DNA genotyping, forensic DNA fingerprinting, and I worked at the Armed Forces DNA Identification Laboratory in the US. And when I was working there, Skype was just published and everybody was using Skype. And at that time, you needed a username because you didn't use your own name, your clear name. And I thought, oh, I'm going to need a name. And my colleague said, why don't you use Science Barbie? Because that's what you are. So that's my name. And so Science Barbie explains mathematics. These are mathematical tutorials that are published on YouTube in the sense of an open educational resource. So far in the past half year of 9 months, I generated and published more than 370 videos, and this collection is continuously expanded. And it's also used or can be seen as open educational resource because I only have 60 students that attend my lectures, but I have in the meantime 405 subscribers that obviously use my videos to learn and to support them in acquiring skills and mathematics. So what's special about Science Barbie? So the normal videos on YouTube, so for example, Daniel Jung is very famous, is mainly a male mathematician standing in front of a screen or a whiteboard and writing down. So the main thing that you see is more or less the teacher. My setup is I use 2 different cameras, one camera focusing on me only shortly for an introduction, but the main point is that this camera is filming when I'm writing on a sheet of paper. So I do complete examples, which I try to do in a time frame between 5 and 10 minutes. And I do a step-by-step explanation also of the calculation methods. I provide sketches and I highlight essential calculation rules. And what I also do is when I use my pocket calculator, I also do this in front of the camera because many students, especially if they come from schools other than the HTL schools, they didn't really know what the calculator is able to do. And so there's also training on how to use the calculator. So what's the aim? The aim is that the students can sit down in front of the screen with a sheet of paper in front of them and do the math at home, just like in the lecture hall, but at their own speed and when they want to do it. So in this way, the arithmetic methods are studied and also the use of the pocket calculator is practiced. And also the meaningfulness of suitable sketches is internalized. And my experience is that with this approach, mathematics really comes to life in the student's own hands. And all these, my videos, they're all embedded into my slides. So the students don't really have to search for them online. So what they can do, and I don't know if this works now, is they can just click on, for example, this is an example on integration by partial fraction decomposition. This is what it would look like on one of those slides. And the students can click on that link. And I don't know if you can see this now, if maybe not. Can you now see my screen? I don't know.
We are just seeing the slides.
Oh, so you're just seeing the slides. Maybe I need to, okay. I share this now.
Yes, this is YouTube online.
Okay, so this is what it looks then, is so they immediately get to the appropriate video and then they can click on the video and the video starts.
So there's no real audio right now.
Okay, I'm sorry, maybe it's mainly also to show you, I interrupted it now, to show you how the principle works. And I'm returning to my slides, which I hope to see.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. So this is how it works. So the students, they click on the link and in their slides and they immediately get to the video, and the video is quite short. Normally it's more or less 5 minutes. And when I see the exercises that they submit to me, I see, okay, they really follow the steps and they get somehow a structure on how to tackle a problem, a mathematical problem, and they somehow also replicate my style of calculating. But it's not only, teaching what needs to be taught, like integration or differentiation. I also want to arouse interest for mathematics. So what I do is every now and then, when there is a special area of interest in the public, for example, the COVID-19 antigen tests, in January this year, there was an ongoing discussion about the wrong positive tests. So the high number of antigen tests that are positive, we type them with PCR, then they're actually negative. And there were no real numbers. It was just like a public outcry, oh, you're all wrongly positive, and it's not correct. So the mathematical background is the bias theorem of bias. It's conditional probabilities. And so I also did a video on this. There were more than 500 calls, so I think it was also interesting. It also arises interest from mathematics outside the standard university setting. So another cornerstone is the autonomous solving of exercises. The students get exercises which they can solve autonomously with the help of the lecture materials, the animations, and the mathematics tutorials. In addition, in order to work and to learn independently, the students are encouraged to check the solutions with diverse computer algebra systems. So it's not that they calculate something and then they're asking me, what's going on wrong, or is it right or not? So they're doing, for example, an integral, a more or less complex integral, and then they have to check it themselves whether it's been done correct or not, so that they can repeat and internalize and exercise. And only if they're stuck at some point, they normally contact me and I help them out. So during the exercises, I showed them diverse computer algebra systems like Wolfram Alpha, Mathematica, Maple, or GeoGebra, which they now use for checking their exercises. So they upload their exercises to Moodle, where they receive a feedback, and particularly demanding examples are discussed in small group, again via Microsoft Teams. And this is how it looks like. So in the meantime, the students somehow got used also to applying mathematical software solutions. So instead of calculating everything by hand, this is in the meantime how the homework is submitted. And you see here, for example, they use GeoGebra, they use Wolfram Alpha, they use Mathematica to tackle the examples.
1 minute, Anita.
Okay, so how do we check the learning success? So I created a large database of multiple choice questions in Moodle, where they can check their learning success and where I check the learning success and outcome. And there's this digital transformation led to a significant increase in their learning success. So in the years before, when I did the exercise groups, the average points achieved were 77%. And in the winter term, the first winter term was the digital transformation, the average points achieved were 83.5. So we have a measurable increase in learning success. So also the Open Education and Resource Science Barbie is getting more and more attention. So we have 3,000 calls in the last 28 days. And something that's very important to me is when you look at gender, it's like 60% of females who watch this channel as compared to 40% of male students. Of course, in the age, that's the target group. And this is also something that I try to enforce. I want to be a role model for young women to see, okay, mathematics is not for data science or informatics. It's not only for boys, it's also for girls. And I hope that because a Science Barbie explains mathematics, this somehow can support more women also and motivate them for STEM sciences. So we have this digital transformation led to a measurable increased learning success as it considers the heterogeneity of the knowledge levels. The students can solve their examples on their own. It strengthens their personal responsibility by autonomously checking the results, and it supports the learning in a motivating way. In the end, really, I want to be a role model and to motivate girls and young women for sciences, for STEM sciences in particular. And of course, overall is to arouse the enjoyment and interest in mathematics. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anita. Well, another great talk. Congratulations. Just a quick one on your subscribers. Were they the 405 subscribers? Were they other teachers or students? Your 405 subscribers.
Yes.
Were they other teachers or students?
I don't know. I can't see. It's all, you know, the names, they don't tell you anything. I don't know.
No, that's fine. Any questions? Oh, I can't see anybody asking anybody.
It's Valentina. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Valentina.
From university and high school. Do you communicate somehow with your YouTube subscribers?
Yes, I communicate with them because sometimes also I make mistakes when I calculate something. So maybe they write, "Oh, you forgot the squared" or something.
Okay.
And then I'm writing back. But I also, it's very interactive. So my YouTube subscribers also say something. Okay, well, partial integration was nice, but do you have something with a complex number in the denominator? And then I do a video on this. So it's video on demand. My students write emails directly and my subscribers, they write to the YouTube channel. I definitely need a video, for example, differential equations or partial differential equations. And then I do the video. And I think, yes, it's a very interactive way of communicating.
Great, thank you much.
Thank you.
Good job. So many videos. That's crazy for me. For me to write down one, it's super huge work and stress actually. So great job.
Thanks.
Yeah, very nice work.
I hope the connection is okay. So I was broken.
I think we're
good luck with your work.
Thank you.
I think we're a little bit over time now. Is that right, Oliver?
Yeah, that's true. We're just 2 minutes over time, but I think.
Oh, is that only just 2 minutes? Oh, really? That's fine.
Yeah. Because we skipped the break. So if.
Oh dear.
If we go back to the main room, there will be the next show. I hope so.
Yeah. Well, I hope you thought it was worth it, because I thought those talks were absolutely super. So thank you very much indeed, everybody. So what do we do now? We go back to the main room?
Yes, just 1 second. I would like to say something to the speakers. I tried to upload my slides and I can see only the slides from Tony. So maybe we will send you another link where you can upload your slides. I would think this is a benefit for everyone who was listening here. And thank you for joining us here in room 1. And now let's go back to the main room.